Good afternoon, friends, family, loved ones, enemies, contributors, distractors. This is Kevin Lewis on the Blueprint. And this week's show is called Outlandish. And when I'm talking about being outlandish or something that's outlandish, the definition of outlandish is something that's bizarre or unfamiliar. And also, but in this case, I also want to add in, um, I'm talking about breaking the word down of being outlandish, meaning the suffix of acting like or similar to being without land or people that don't have land. Land is actually power in the world that we live in. So I'm talking about a people that act as if they are people without a land. They're basically powerless. They're acting outlandish, which to me is also bizarre and unfamiliar or uncharacteristic of a people that I see as being or having the skill set and intelligence of as the people that I'm talking about. The people that tune into these to shows like this. It's being without land is like being without resources. And what comes to mind is like the gypsies. You know, we hear about the gypsies. They're nomadic, they roam around. They have no ground to stand on that is theirs. They have no power in any land that they're in. It's like they are guests, they are outsiders. And I am talking about a people that act as if they are a people without land and a people without power. So these are people that I say are outlandish. And see, in this country, many of us, many black people, and there's other people also, we act as renters. We have a renter's mentality. That's what I call it, a renter's mentality. And what do I mean by a renter's mentality? These are people that will only rent. They have no ambition, no desires to go out and buy their own homes or whatnot. Even though they pay more to rent than they would be paying to own their own homes. Many of us don't even know what it takes to own our own homes. And that's understandable from the history that we've come through in this country. Many black people in this country are either first or second generation homeowners, even though in their past they may have had a great great grandfather, a great 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 grandfather or grandmother that may have owned some type of property or home. Many of us have it. And that's to me, that's understandable. But then what happens is over generations, many of us start having just a renter's mentality. That means that we invest in or buy things that we should just rent. And then we rent things that we should actually buy. To me, that's my definition of a renter's mentality. People that rent something like a home or a place to stay, but go out and buy other things, perishable things, things that devalue over time, that loses value over time. We invest in the fashion and all these things, this the sparkle, but we don't invest in the things that we need to invest in. And to me, and I'm not just talking about homes, I'm talking about that's a renter's mentality. We invest into the fashion or whatever it is, the glitz and the glamour. We buy all these things that depreciate in value. And we don't invest into our education and things like that in the building of in the fortitude of our village. We don't invest and buy into those things. We buy into things that others have for us to buy into. And to me, that is a backwards mentality that many of us have inherited, that is meant for us to inherit, and something that many of us continue to pass on. and pass along. Because see, we pay the price. We've been paying the price, a hefty price, to be here in this country. Just our presence here is a price that we pay constantly. We paid it back centuries ago, and we still pay that price today. From how we're treated, where we go, whenever we go somewhere, how we're treated. Many times you can end up dead, leaving the home, going to have to meet up with friends or family or whatnot. You can die for being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong authoritative figure pulling you over, where things can escalate. That's a hefty price to pay to be Black in America. We pay a price just to be at a job or to apply for jobs. We pay a price in everything we do in this country because they see who we are, and we are not treated just or equally, and we don't have the same freedoms that everyone else has. So we're here paying the price just to get freedom, justice, and equality. Our ancestors have paid a price just for asking for freedom, justice, and equality. Those seem like those should be human rights, let alone civil rights. That should be human rights, God-given rights to be free, to be treated justly, to be treated the same. And just for asking for those things, we paid a hefty price. Many of our leaders and our organizations who have just asked for those things, not that they're asking for more than anyone else was getting, they're asking for the same, the equality that everyone else was getting or is getting. And they paid many times for their livelihood, or they paid with their blood and life. So that's paying a hefty price just being here, just like a renter may do. They're paying a price that maybe they'll pay more than they would pay if they were owning their own property. And they could be kicked out anytime. And to me, that's outlandish in the way that we behave when we're here. Many of us, not all of, many of us, we embrace these conditions. On a holiday, 4th of July, we want to be, well, this is what Americans do, but we haven't been treated like Americans since we've been here. I want to barbecue. I want to do all these things on the 4th of July and call it Independence Day when you had no independence. They treat us like we're gypsies in this land, unwanted gypsies in this land at that, unless we can do something for them, unless you can entertain them in some form or fashion, unless they can take from you, take from your skill set, then you are useful to them until they need you no more. And this behavior is unfamiliar to me or bizarre to me, and it's outlandish. To me, these are uncivilized traits for anyone to act like this in the civilization, for anyone to have this type of behavior, to love the ones that oppress you, to yearn for the acceptance of those who oppress you. That's outlandish to me. I had a conversation with someone. We were talking about the Stockholm syndrome and some of the things that happen, um, where people were kidnapped and things like this. And over the years, they started um, becoming more or falling in love with their captives. And I was explaining those things are psychological. That's a psychological thing. Some of it is called Stockholm syndrome, but there's cases where these type of things has happened. And then if I look at the grander scale, the mac the larger scale, This is us, many of us here. Not just saying that we help build this land and this is our land and whatnot, but I'm talking about the governing of this land. We buy into the system that perpetuates the conditions that we are in. We have our leadership pushing us to the polls to do one thing, and we never start to plan and plot and think of better ways to put ourselves and maneuver in a better position. We keep just doing the same thing the same way as we always been doing. I mean, we keep ending up in the same place the same way in the same conditions that we always have been in. This is uncivilized traits to me. Therefore, I believe that it's not the dollars that are making us poor, it's actually the scholars that are making us poor. What I mean by the scholars are those people that are educated, those people that are familiar with the system, those people that are familiar with our history and everything that we've been through. It is the scholars that are keeping us poor because the scholars should be the leadership. The scholars should be those coming up with plans, economic plans, education plans, plans of gaining liberty, plans that's going to get us the justice that we yearn for, plans and showing us ways to demand the equality that we are demanding and really not getting. So it's the scholars that are keeping us poor. This is why we're in a poor position because we don't have the mentality, the education of those that have the education. They have it in a way to better themselves mainly, or better a condition that they're not tackling for all of us. They are bought into the system and becoming part of the system. And this system that they became a part of and believing in is a system that keeps us on a majority in a poor state, having no ground to stand on, having no resources, having no power to speak when someone turn does something that we as a people doesn't feel good with or doesn't think is just. We have no means of getting the justice that we desire and that we deserve. So we are like we start to roam around doing anything and everything. Even when we are upset as a people, everybody's doing different things, and then we're fighting with each other about you shouldn't do this instead of you doing your thing and letting me do my thing. And it could be chaos, but then the chaos starts to implode. We start fighting with each other. We get mad at each other. You're doing this and he's doing that. This is what we should have been doing. You shouldn't do this. All lives should matter. All lives matter. Yeah, they should, but they don't. So it is the scholars because not just poor as in economically poor, we're in a poor position and we have to do better. And that's going to take a maturation process. That's going to take a maturity as a people. Not that we don't have mature individuals, but I mean as a people, as a whole. Because are yet embracing the conditions, those that are creating the conditions that's keeping us in our predicament that we complain about. They tell us go vote, vote. That's going to change things. But every 4 years, I'm talking about voting at the POTUS position. You could then we start getting into we got to vote at the midterm elections and things like we start understanding these things because it started to be a maturation process with us and we're still in that process and some of our leaders are starting to say, oh, look, this person is in the Senate, this is what the House does, and these are why these laws are not being passed. So many of us are starting to understand the process better when we should have understood the process all along, but they keep pushing us to do the same thing and vote the same way. And then they tell us when we're going there, oh, well, we're voting for the lesser of two evils. And that's outlandish to me because last I heard, there's no evil in heaven. There's only evil in hell. So this is why you continue to go through hell. It's not hell in this country for everybody. It's hell in this country for a certain group of people or certain groups of people. And then they tell us, well, you're voting for the lesser of two evils. And then you're looking for your prayers to be answered in the vote. I don't understand or believe that prayers are answered in hell, because regardless, we are going to be under the guidelines and leaderships of evil, if that's your slogan. But neither side cares how we feel about the things that they do that we don't like. And I believe the situation that we are in now, people say, well, you know what? Would you rather have this or rather have that? And I believe this. I believe the Democrats are actually enjoying the things that we are going through as a party, not as individuals that's Democrats. I'm talking about the Democratic Party, because they want it to be bad for us or any group that votes what they feel is against their interests, that don't vote for them. I believe that they're feeling pretty good about it. The more peril that we face, the more disgruntlement that comes from out of our communities, because this is going to empower them. This is going to make them stronger the next time it is to vote. They're going to say, yeah, all those people that didn't vote last time, I bet you will vote next time. All those people that didn't vote for us last time that got hurt, I bet y'all vote for us this time, because look what voting for the other side does. Not that we're going to do the things that you want us to do. But the problem is, we find comfort in the hell of our choice. If the Democratic candidate would have won the presidency last election, many of us would have settled and said, well, that's what I wanted. And we wouldn't have continued to do the things that we need to do to empower ourselves in this country, regardless of who's in the White House. Well, we wouldn't have done it, and we haven't done it. And now when someone is in there that we don't like, we still not doing it. We just waiting for the next election. We're just complaining about what they're doing. But why you complain? Be working while you complaining. This is what my whole point is. Because the other side got us voting for them for things that don't even that we don't even believe in. Many of us don't. They got boys playing girls sports, and they all these type of things like this. No one that has daughters want their daughters competing against boys. This is why we have girls basketball and boys basketball. This is why we have the WNBA and the NBA, because men and women cannot play. So if that's the case, then just get rid of the WNBA, and any woman that you think can make an NBA roster, they just have to go out for that team. And if not, they won't have any sports. Now, I'm not here just to talk about sports, but this is an example of what I'm saying. If you wanted to start ingratiating men or boys into women's sports, then don't have a high school girls basketball team. Only have a boys or just a basketball team with any of them. And don't start saying, well, it got to be so many girls that make it. No, just have it straight up and see how many girls will be team. 0. I don't care what feminist movement you're talking about. 0. If you had the Olympics, the fastest gold medal woman, she wouldn't make the men's relay team in track. She wouldn't make the wrestling team. She won't make the boxing team. So all you're saying is you don't want, you're not saying you don't want it, but basically that's what you're doing, is saying get away from girls sports, women's sports, period. If you want boys playing with girls, because what can actually happen, you could say, well, it's just this boy that want to play with girls. But then say if a boy can't make the high school basketball team. Well, I want to go play with the girls then. I could dominate over there. Bigger, faster, stronger. Even if I'm not bigger, I'm faster, I'm stronger, more athletic, jump higher. So you're voting against your own interests because you're voting for the lesser of two evils. Things that you don't even accept in your religious belief, you're voting against your religious beliefs many times because it's the lesser of two evils. Some people are going to vote with their religious beliefs, and that's going to trump, no pun intended, anything that else that we're talking about with taxes and Medicare. Your religious beliefs many times is more important to you as an individual than the taxes or the deportations and things like this, because many people have a bond with their religion, with their God, over the civil rights of others. And many times you could argue they should. Who am I to argue with someone that has a conflict and they're choosing the lesser of two evils within themselves, even though the evil may hurt you more? It's not to them, it's hurting them more to go against their religious beliefs. But it's just outlandish to me that we believe that we don't have to do anything but vote our troubles away. Then every 4 years, and you think about the predicament many of us are in, or many of our Hispanic brethren or cousins are in. You could say vote this way the next time, but then the fact that this opportunity for someone like this to be in office mean that that person has backing, and for them to pass the laws that they're passing in this office mean that they have people that think like them that's in Congress. And we're an election away from having these type of things happen again, over and over and over. You may win the next election, you're going to lose again, because it has been happening. It has been happening. In the checks and balances of the system, you would think they would put something in place that someone can't do the things that this person is doing now. I call them the bloaters, the biggest lion. um, anyway, um, but that's outlandish to me that we could think that this is a resolution to our problems. And we're only thinking about here and now because we've been having these problems for a long time. Even when the candidate that you voted for was in office, we've been having the same problems. And I don't understand. On another podcast, me and my brother, we was talking about the war going on, the Israeli Iran conflict, and what America has to do with it. America has been taking Israel's side for the longest, no matter who has been in office. Just a couple of years ago, the Israel attack, um, 20, 2023 on the Gaza Strip, uh, decimating all those civilians, looking for Hamas that had kidnapped some of their higher position people, officers and whatnot. But this conflict has been ongoing over a century, probably, or damn near a century. And no Democrat, Republic, conservative, whatever person has sided against Israel. So when you have a sibling, if you have two kids, a parent have two people, or a teacher have two students, one student is able to do something to the other student or sibling reacts, and that parent attacks the other sibling for reacting, then what you're doing, you're promoting ways for that favorable sibling to do things and to go about doing things. Instead of, if we want to be involved over there in the Middle East and we the dog with the big stick, we could come over there and demand peace. Israel, you do this, then we're against you. We're taking away whatever it is. We're not going to back you, blah, blah, blah. They would have to check with us before they did something, and vice versa. if we really wanted peace, but we don't want peace. Biden didn't want peace over there. I don't care who it was. Obama didn't want peace over there. Bush didn't want peace over there. They wanted peace as long as that peace came in the way that they wanted to see that peace, with oppression. That's the peace that they wanted. They didn't want to see getting together and like you do with your kids. Y'all hug each other. If just doing this to that person pisses that person off, you better not do that anymore. Apology. We didn't come over there with that type. We don't come over there with that type of mentality. We come over there on one side and one side only. We make suggestions on one side and reinforce with discipline on the other side. So with us, I mean, that was just me talking about the conversation that we was having. And with us differentiating between the Republican and Democrat issue here, when we're still going through the hell, evil is still hell. You telling me the lesser of two evils is still, it's all in hell. Evil is in hell. And don't look for them to answer your prayers then. Don't look for them to answer the prayers of our people for the last 100 years, of our organizations and our leadership and our civil rights leaders and our human rights leaders, and those that were trying to empower our people economically. Many of whom have died for that. Those that have tried to let the world know, hey, I'm not happy with what's going on, even though I may be running in the Olympics. I'm going to use a gesture to let y'all know there's unrest for my people over here in this country that I'm running for. And they put their lives on the line to do this. And they had to pay a price because what they were saying is actually true. And then when you have uninformed opinions, when you're uninformed, that's because you have uninformed information. And then you form uninformed opinions, or you form the opinions of those formed by someone else. Your opinion is formed by someone else because they controlling your information. And sometimes we don't go to seek out, do diligence on what we want to know about why is this stuff happening. Then you can't even charge your candidate and say, why are you doing this? Or why are we doing this? You want us to vote for you, and they offer you something. And you could be quiet about what's happening over here. Same thing other people may do. They offer them something to vote for them, and then they don't have your best interest in mind then. But this is something that I see. We have opinions about things. We have uninformed opinions, or we formed our opinions off of what others have formed for us because we have no power. And it's outlandish that we are led the way that we are led, when we are being led astray. And that is uncivilized behavior. That is something that they do with cattle. They lead them to where they want them to go. When you have a feral child is a child that's being raised in by nature, not in civilization, not in human civilization. They call them feral childs. And when you have a feral child that's raised by, if you want to say wolves, or goats or anything like this, and these are cases that has actually happened. They could be raised by apes or whatever. They're going to take on those type of characteristics. They're going to assimilate to the nature of the beast that they are being raised in, even if the nature of the beast that they're being raised in is in an uncivilized culture of humans. They're gonna assimilate to the nature of that beast, even if that beast is in America, even if that beast is in Iraq, even if that beast is in Israel, even if that beast is in Saudi Arabia. I'm just naming any country. I don't care if it's an uncivilized culture. They're gonna produce an uncivilized product from that culture. and you're gonna grow up in uncivilized conditions and continue to have uncivilized products that's gonna wreak havoc around the world. And it's gonna take a civilized mind to reach and rescue you, to let you know what you are doing is not correct. What you think you're doing that you think is civilized, it's gonna take someone that's actually civilized to show you, to reach you, and to rescue you. This is what many of us are needing. This is what has come from many of our leadership, people trying to rescue us from the conditions and the mindset, not just the conditions. We can see the conditions that we are in, but we have a mindset. We have this outlandish mindset to think that everything that we're doing is okay because we make the uncivilized comfortable. Even if we see the conditions that we're growing up in and we don't like the conditions and we don't think that is, we as a people have always made uncomfortable situations as comfortable as we can make them. We make them fashionable. We make it flavorable. We make it look good. We make it look ghetto fabulous. We don't love the ghetto. I mean, we start to, but what people actually love the ghettos. You know, when the immigrants from different countries came to Ellis Island, through Ellis Island, and they was put somewhere, Brooklyn, whatever, the Irish, the Italian, they grew up in ghettos. They wasn't comfortable with the ghettos. They didn't brag about the ghettos. They didn't make it ghetto fabulous. But for some reason, we have this innate ability to get comfortable with what we're doing. And we say we're being resilient. That's an uncivilized mind to be comfortable wallowing in the mud. Then we think if we do it a certain way, it's cool. It's fashionable. We'll take a style. I remember when we was coming up, we used to talk about kids that was wearing hand-me-downs. Their clothes was too big. That's your brother's clothes, your older sister's clothes, or whatever. You wearing hand-me-downs, and you're wearing it until you're able to grow into it. And then that became a hip hop style and fashion. This is what I mean by we make it fashionable to be uncomfortable. We make it look comfortable. We make it a comfort. And they call that being resilient. And this is the things we brag about. We have been a resilient people. Why? Because we keep getting our butt kicked time after time after time. We keep paying the rent to be in this place. So now paying the rent means paying the price for something that you don't own, paying the price for rights that you don't own, paying the price for liberties that you don't own, paying the price to be in the neighborhood and putting that neighborhood on your back that you don't own. This is what we do. And we try to make it look good while we're doing it, no matter how foolish it is. I'm from this neighborhood. I'm from that neighborhood. My neighborhood, my city killed more people died through gang violence, and then we put that on poke our chest up with that. We're number this and the murder rate, and you think that builds you up in some kind of way. That's a sick mentality. That's an uncivilized, that's an outlandish mentality to have. But this is something that's prevalent in every city in America where black people reside and a lot of brown people reside. This side of town, and you don't own anything on this side of town. Yeah, the south side, yeah, the east side, yeah, this side, this borough, whatever you want to call it, these projects, that's where I came up. This is where it's happening at. We are the most deadliest people, you know, whatever. In prison, we fight like this and this. We run these prisons. That's uncivilized mentality coming from a renter's mentality. That's outlandish. You're paying a price for something that you don't own. the streets that we don't own, but we're resilient people. So much so that we can take scraps and do the best with those scraps. They gave us scraps and we turned it into soul food, a delicacy in our own community. And sometimes it bleeds out to other people will come over there to get these scraps from us. I remember I posted something, me and a friend of mine, we had a discussion. He was talking about oxtails and I was like steaks and he's big on all this. And I'm like, man, but to me, that's scraps. And he's like, post something on social media. Oxtail, don't say anything else, just oxtail versus steak. You ain't got to name what type of steak, whatever. And I just did a poll and we did a poll. And, basically most of the black people, it was kind of, but a lot of us were saying oxtails, oxtails, oxtail. And I'm like, that speaks more to our mentality that we took the scraps of the cow. That's not really an oxtail that we're eating. Those are cow tails. They chop the tail off, get rid of the head, the tongue, whatever, the feet, the hooves. That's what they did with the hog. Got rid of the intestines, and they gave it to us because they cared less about us. They're not going to waste the good meat. That's like you giving scraps to your dog. I'm not going to give my dog the good meat. I'm going to give him the scraps that I would normally throw away. And we boiled it up and seasoned it, and we made it into a delicacy. And now we think that delicacy is better than the better portions of that animal that we're eating. The feet, the tail, chopped up, better than the steak. That's what we do. That's where we are as a people. That's the resiliency at its finest. When we can't afford something. If I bring up hip hop, there's a time when I was coming up, people started beatboxing. They made it, they even made records out of beatboxing, people beatboxing. You didn't have an instrument. You couldn't buy this 808. You couldn't buy this drum set. You made the noise with your mouth, scratching noises with your mouth because you had nothing. That's coming from you and being in a poor condition. And then we made it like it was something grandiose. It was cool. I mean, it's a talent that you have to cook. When you take something, you make the best out of it. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with making the best out of what you have. So then you had the DJ scratching the thing. This became a billion-dollar industry that we didn't get anything from. We paid the price to make it, to develop it, then someone else owns it. And that's what happens with us. That's the renter's mentality. We're not cornering the market on anything, even the things that we come up with. So now, they scratching and they mixing and all this stuff, and they creating turntables to do this. When we were doing this on your mama's turntable, messing up her needles because we want to find a way to make the break beat longer, to make an instrumental out of things that didn't have an instrumental. So we started this record, stopped it, started this record, switched over the sound environment, and that's how we started it. Now they're making millions of dollars all around the country, Japan, all around the world, Africa, Japan, anywhere you go, you got DJs doing what we developed because we didn't have any money or the means to make our own beats. If you talk about playing basketball, you didn't have a basketball goal. What did we have? We had the milk crate, the square milk crate boxes. We nailed it to a board, put it up on something, and we shot ball like that because we didn't have the money for a real basketball rim or a real basketball goal with a backboard. Sometimes we took bicycle rims, took the spokes out because it was round, and we hammered it, nailed it up into a board. We have always made the best of what we had. And there's nothing wrong with making the best out of what you had. That's called improvising and adapting. That's what they teach us in the military. And that's for a situation. That's for situational circumstances. You come across a circumstance and you improvise. to do what you got to do to get what you got to get done. And we have that mentality to improvise and adapt, to do what we got to do to get what we got to get done until it comes to our conditions. Because improvising and adapting, that's supposed to be a temporary thing. When you come across a situation that you don't have what you need, so you throw something together and cook what you have to cook, but you don't make that a normal meal. You start to prepare to get better, or to help your situation get better. You don't stay and get comfortable in those type of conditions. If you're going to nail up a basketball goal with a bike rim, and your dreams, your goal is to make it to the NBA, or at least make it to college, thinking on the way you're going to make it to the NBA. But you don't want to just stay there and keep playing ball on the basketball goal out of a milk carton box or a bicycle rim. And this is what we have to do with our conditions that we don't do. We improvise and adapt to our situations in the hood, and we remain there and be comfortable with our situations in the hood. And this is outlandish to me. This is a renter's mentality to me. We have to do better. We have to want better. We need our scholars, not just dollars. We need scholars that's going to help us to find a way to get better. But what we do, we are resilient people that get comfortable with the lesser of two evils or the higher of two evils. We're going to continue to adapt and not change a damn thing about what we do. When we're upset with whatever the country does, the system is playing chess. The system is playing chess. That's fine. And I always say, well, they playing chess and we're playing checkers. But it's okay to play checkers, as long as your reaction is the same and your reaction is in unison. Whatever your chess move is, I don't have to understand everything you do. As long as I understand that I don't like what you just did, and I'm gonna show you that I don't like what you just did, and I'm gonna make things uncomfortable for you for what you just did, instead of still patronizing your businesses and still doing the things that you want me to do or you need me to do, dribbling the ball how you want me to dribble and running the ball how you want me to run, singing the songs you want me to sing at your events before the games, the national anthems, and doing all the things you want me to do. I'm going to put my fist up for the air to see. If not literally, then figuratively. If you're going to continue to do the same things and feel uncomfortable with what they did, they're playing chess. You could play chess with them if they kicking your butt on the chessboard. What difference do it make? You could sit there and play politics, and they kicking your butt on the in the political arena. What difference do it make? They giving you two choices, both of them evil. Neither one of them is helping you improve your conditions. They just giving you a little bit. They're just giving you a little bit to satisfy you. So that means you have to start improving on your own conditions, no matter what evil is there in office. No matter how much comfort you get in an uncomfortable situation, you have to change that and prepare. That's the whole thing about improvising and adapting. You can improvise and adapt to what you're going through, like we have been doing, but what we're not doing is preparing to better the situation. We say this with our kids. You may not like that job that you're at right now, but you don't have to quit. If you're a mature adult, you don't just quit. You don't quit. You always look for a job while you got a job. Ain't that what they used to tell us? Some of those that used to try to lead us in the right, mature direction. You just don't quit a job because you're unhappy. You start looking for another job because you're unhappy. If you don't like the pay that you're getting, you don't just quit. They always say it's easier to get a job when you got a job. It's easier to get things done if you know how to have your options in place to where they listen to you. We're not building up any options. We don't have a way to alleviate the pressures that we're facing as a people. It's the scholars, not the dollars, because the scholars will get the dollars in place. The dollars are there. The mentality of how we going to use our funds and how to use our dollars, that's not in place. The leadership, it may be in place, but the way to recognize the leadership, some of that leadership that come along, they'll say that's radical. Oh man, that's radical. You can't, we have some of us saying, oh, that's radical. Then you look back 30 years later, 60 years later, you say, man, the Black Panther Party was on to something. Damn, Malcolm X was on to something. But at the time when they was here, they was alone with something because they didn't have us backing them the way that they should have. Not saying that you got to stop backing Martin Luther King, but that means that what you should have been is mentally stable, mentally mature enough to listen to somebody else with a different way of doing things. And not say, well, that's not going to work. Leave him alone. We should have had a way that we as Black people in the Black community in this country should have had. Well, let's, you and Malcolm, y'all sit here and we talk. Let's have y'all talk to each other like they do with the presidents. They debate, right? Who's right, who's wrong. No, well, y'all get together and y'all have this discussion instead of doing it and the white man is controlling it and he's controlling the narrative. Oh, Martin, he called you Uncle Tom. Well, let me tell you about him. And they playing both sides against each other like they did with the US organization and the Black Panther Party. We should be mature enough to have our own discussions with our own leadership. Our leadership should be mature enough to get together and hammer out their differences. And then if they can't come to a correct conclusion and say, well, you do your thing. I understand what you're doing. I don't agree with it, but I'm going to do my thing. And let us decide instead of them fighting and crossfiring and shooting at each other, taking strays. Instead of shooting strays at the enemy that's oppressing us. Let them get pressure from both sides. That's how it should be. That's a mature people to me. And this is how we should react. I'm going to thank some of y'all that showed up. Man, I appreciate it. Aisha Ray, I appreciate you. And Lawrence, I haven't seen you, sister. I appreciate you I haven't seen you in a long time. I appreciate you showing up. Sakina, walaikum assalam, sister. Rahmatu Allah barakatuh. The Day Bishop, I appreciate you. My man Ant Dog, I appreciate you showing up. And I have Brianna, I appreciate you showing up, sister, and Coretta and Nikita. And I'll read a comment from Sakina. She said, we must change the mindset before we can change the conditions. And this is, you just said what I've been talking about for the last 50 minutes. And that is true. And I could just come on and say that, but I want to break that down. I appreciate you saying that. Because see, to me, it's outlandish. So when you have an element as a people, we have our mentality, our condition, our mindset conditioned. We have been conditioned to think the way that we think. There is a conditioning going on to make us think that what the ghetto fabulous and the gangster and all this stuff that you're talking about, that we talk about, they elevate that. This is how you get the dollars. The gyrating, the women sexual and talking about this and that and the WAP stuff and all this, they gonna elevate that. We could put anything on a beat. I'm gonna say this. If the beat is nice, the song is gonna be nice. I've seen some whack rappers and some sorry singers that makes say songs sound good, their voices or whatever. The lyrics ain't really nothing, but we like the song. I think it was Chicken Noodle Soup was a song. I'm like, what the hell are they saying? MC Hammer, they put me in no lyrics whatsoever on rap, and rap is built on lyrics. But the beat is good, the dancing is good, so it's gonna be good to us. They're gonna elevate that. And that's gonna be popular. And what that's going to do is dumb us down. They're going to push anything that they can to the top and to the forefront to keep us in the conditions that we are in. Anything that they don't want, they're going to paint the picture. If I go in history, they're going to paint the picture of Malcolm X as being a hate monger. And there's nothing you going to go on and listen to, because now we got the power to go listen to Malcolm anytime we want on YouTube. Any speech that he made, and you show me where the lie is, or the mentality that's a lie. Now, if he was saying that this is a blue-eyed devil, that's because he was seeing evil. It's now you hold it against Malcolm for saying a blue-eyed devil, but when you look at what those people was doing to us, if to me, if you're a police officer and you're gunning down a 12-year-old boy, do you think I'm gonna put you in what category? What category? You think I'm gonna put you in heaven or hell? You think that's heavenly or evil? And when I see this as a repetitive thing, then I'm gonna start labeling you as a group. And that may sound outlandish to some. When I see the people that justify when kids are dying or turning their back, what position, what label do you think I'm gonna put you in? You may not be the devil himself, but you're following evil ways. So if you look at what they've done in history, the Black Panther Party, how they labeled them, same as the Ku Klux Klan. You look up your own history and tell me what they had in common with the Ku Klux Klan. Tell me what churches they were bombing where little girls were dying. I had this guy, he comes on it's a high school post, but he comes on with his own political agenda and all this stuff like this. And he posts this thing and it says something about, it's crazy. You can't have the Bible in school anymore, but you can have the Bible in prison. But maybe you won't need the Bible in prison if you had the Bible in schools. And that sounds great. That sounds great. But what that is, that's an uninformed opinion. So I informed him. I said the same, there were prisons packed before they took the Bible out of school. I grew up in the schools that we would say a prayer. And the people that was older than me in my neighborhood grew up in those same schools. And there were killings and drug dealings and drug usage. I see some of the pastors in the church or some of the people that claim that they in church where I know they got prayer. And some of them are doing things that are uncivilized and against their own words that they teaching and preaching. But what I said to this guy, I said they had Bibles at the plantation where my people was getting lynched and murdered at. Some of those people that was lynching and murdering them went to church on Sunday and turned around on Monday and was beating them, whipping them for not having enough cotton in their bag and raping them at night. And later, after emancipation, was lynching them, burning them alive. And they had their Bibles. And his response was, "Why do you hate God?" I thought that was funny. I don't hate God. I got my eyes open to reality. These little things you want to throw at people to think that that's going to change people's ways. It hasn't changed their ways in the last 100 years and all the things that we have been going through. Last I heard, America was a Christian country, Catholic and Protestant, mainly, majority. And I'm still sitting up here talking about the hell that we're going through, and we still talking about voting for the lesser of two evils. So the bottom line that I'm getting into, whenever people is sick, and I think we are people that have been ailing, you come up with remedies. And when you come up with remedies, that's something that you have to come up with on your own. Grandma used to have these remedies. She didn't have the money to go to the store and get you all these medicines that these people were selling to you. When you're ailing and you're sick, you need remedies. When you don't have money for the doctors or the professionals. And many of our people, we're ailing And the people that are creating the sickness are those that many of us want to run to help control the things that's making us sick while they're the ones doing it. But grandma had remedies. Our people always have remedies. We need remedies for our community. We need remedies for our national response to things that happen on a national level. This is where the scholars come in. I'm not talking about medicine. I'm talking about we need remedies. When they do something and we don't like what they're doing, instead of saying go out and protest, go out, I mean, boycott, it's things that I boycott permanently because of things that they did, things that they should have known that they shouldn't have been, they should be doing. And they'll never take you seriously if they don't have to. I'm gonna put it like that. They'll never take you seriously if you don't make them. The system keeps making us sick. They're conditioning us, and then we are in a predicament. And as a people, we're accepting the sickness. We become comfortable in the sickness, and then we think that we're resilient in doing so. And to me, that's outlandish. I appreciate everyone that showed up. Um, Hopefully, I have a better show for y'all next week. Kevin Lewis on the Blueprint. Peace.